So before you get into the nitty gritty here for chapter 3, one of the things that you're going to see in chapter 7 when we revisit networking, for some reason it's broken up into 2 chapters and they are 4 chapters apart from one another. Publishers, right? When we revisit the idea of networking, there's going to be how different kinds of radios connect differently. And before we talk about e-commerce, which we will on Wednesday, before we talk about searching the web effectively, which we will on Wednesday, and before we talk just a little bit about e-commerce in general, what I thought was a worthwhile exploration was to look at any one of these devices that we carry and realize that there are a host of different networking communication radios on there, all of which provide us with different things. And part of this exploration is the following question: is what or how much communicating are these radios doing all the time? It's something we're going to come back to in chapter 7 when we're looking at securing like your home network. When we look a little bit more deeply at securing, for example, a laptop that you would carry around with you. And actually, one of the things we'll look at securing is here with your phones. But think about this between now and then occasionally is: what is my phone doing with all of these radios all of the time? So if we look at a phone, we're pretty comfortable with the idea that these have cellular radios in them. Now, in chapter 7, again, this is just a little bit of a breadcrumb to 7 just to stick with us till then. There are different kinds of internet radios that we would need for the different kinds of signals that are being pushed out by our internet service providers. So a couple of the terms we're going to come back to are CDMA. We're looking now at 5G. We're looking at millimeter wave. We're looking at a whole bunch of different things that we'll take a look at in chapter 7. But we're all pretty familiar with the fact that our phones can get data while we're not connected to our home networks. So for that, we need at least one radio for cell phones, whatever, cell signal rather. So whatever kind of radio that happens to be on your particular phone. So this is a Pixel 4a. It has lots of different radios on there, so it can connect to lots of different cellular networks. So if we're not out and around and in need of cellular reception, we are probably in a place where we can find, at least hopefully where we can find, a wireless network. And again, in chapter 7, we're going to look at what you can do to secure your at-home wireless networks. But irrespective, these would have at least one radio for dealing with wireless Wi-Fi networks. So that's radio number 2. Radio number 3, we're probably familiar with Bluetooth. As a matter of fact, in my office at RVC the other week, I was having difficulty with my Bluetooth headphones, and it occurred to me I no longer even have a set that use the 3.5 millimeter cable. They are all of them wireless, which most of the time is fantastic. And the one damn time I didn't have the right cable turned out to be a big pain in the butt. But we can absolutely do networking with the Bluetooth radio. There is peer-to-peer, so this phone to another phone directly without an intermediary, like our cell phone provider without an intermediary, like a wireless network. We can do that with our Bluetooth devices, the radio at least number 3. For most to many of these phones, we also have something what is referred to as near field, NFC, or something like it. So this is an Android phone, and it does have NFC, which is something like tap to pair. So this particular set of headphones, I didn't have to set up through the Bluetooth menu. I could actually just literally touch it to the phone, and away that connection goes. For any of you who use Google Pay or Apple Pay or Samsung Pay, that is some form of near field communication. And the whole idea of near field communication is it's very low powered, which means it doesn't go a very far distance. And that's in your best interest. If I can feasibly make a transaction at a store from across the store, who's to say I'm really the one who said, yeah, I want to buy this, right? That really opens you up to a world of criminal malfeasance, people being jackwagons and trying to steal stuff with your card. With near field communication, we are looking at a super short distance and not very dense communications that can happen. So it's really just like a handshake. It's a transfer of, yeah, you can run this charge, essentially. So NFC would be another kind of radio, and there's a host of different flavors of NFC. I know I'm putting them under one umbrella, but if you squint away all of the detail there, it's pretty black and white. Yeah, that's NFC. So that's radio at least number 4. Now, all of these radios, unless you go through and actually turn them off. So here, this Pixel spends all of its time, for the most part, being a webcam, actually, and controlling the bigger TV over here, because the remote's busted. So this doesn't leave the house. So I actually do go through and actually turn off the NFC on here, which occasionally I wish I didn't because of my headphones. But I have the NFC turned off, but probably you don't if you have an Android phone with NFC. It's on by default. I always have my Bluetooth on. I've got a watch connected to it. It's connected to my car's. Bluetooth is always on. Even though I don't get signal down here in my dungeon office, for example, I always have my cellular radios on because whatever, I just don't turn it off. One of the things I want you to think about is how much data is your phone just hemorrhaging most of the time. One of the things we're going to talk about here is how to secure your accounts, how to secure your behavior when you're online so as to lead to the most safety you can possibly expect. Now, I've worked in network security before. I've worked in IT management. I know that none of us is really secure. So I had to hedge my commentary there a little bit. But what we're really aiming for is being as secure as possible with as little an investment in time as possible. And that's what we're going to see in the next video. Is I have it broken down into 6 things that you should be doing in order to better secure your online safety.